Please be seated. All together now. Okay, for your gratitude list, when you write your gratitude list tonight, the top of your gratitude list will be, I was at church, 1. Number 2, I didn't have to sit in the quiet loft. Hey. They're working on it, but it can't be fixed until tomorrow, the AC. So we'll just glow, as they say in the South, as we say in the South. Last week, we all heard Sister Phyllis Aileen, and we were blessed by her opening up of the Gospel of Luke. And we heard how she, when she studies and digests Scripture, will read it several times, and wait to see what word or phrase the Spirit lifts up to her consciousness, what word or phrase the Spirit lifts up and puts a burden on her heart. And we heard that word last week, and the word was abundant. And we heard about abundance in her life, and we heard about when abundance was gone. And we heard about being rich towards God. Those were the words that the Spirit lifted up and put on her heart. So let's imagine, shall we, that instead of calling on Phyllis, I called on one of you this morning and asked you to open the Gospel of Luke for us. I wonder, from this morning's Gospel reading, what word or phrase the Spirit lifts up for you. I'm sorry? Alert. Be alert. Yes. Be prepared. Unexpected hour. I heard something else. Do not be afraid. Give alms. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be. Yes, alms and treasure and purse. It's as though the people who were stitching together the Gospel of Luke stitched up bits that could have been in last week's Gospel as well as with today, as with today's Gospel. I have to tell you that the word that jumped out at me this time was fear not. I'm sure you have all heard me speak about how fear has just really been a large part of my life, and irrationally so. There's no reason for it. It's one of those irrational things of life. I think for many of us right now, fear and anxiety and uncertainty is a lot of our lives. Now, yes, no. If it's not, speak to me at the back and we'll see about bottling up, putting in a bottle, whatever it is you're doing, that you're, But fear and anxiety and uncertainty. We don't live in Aleppo, that's surrounded and where children are starving. We don't live in Calais, where the migrants are camped out. We're not in Greece, trying to run boats to pick up migrants who are at sea. But some of us are traveling to European destinations. Some of us are having doctor's appointments this week. Some of us have brown or black children, sons who drive. At least one among us here has a son-in-law who's a Broward County sheriff. Anxiety, uncertainty, fear. Regardless, we're breathing. If we're breathing, there's a chance that there's fear there. And if we can't breathe, there's a bigger fear. And yet Jesus says to his disciples, "Fear not, little flock." That's the word that Deacon Lorna heard last night, little flock. Don't we all want to consider ourselves a part of that little flock? We want to be there with the Good Shepherd's little flock. Fear not. And yet, some of us still fear. Fear not. The writer of Luke's gospel uses that phrase 8 times. You'd think we'd get the memo and read it. And yet there are those times in the middle of the night or at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's not just, oh, I'm traveling. Oh, there's a doctor's appointment. But am I really actually worthy? Am I really actually loved? Does God really actually want me to be a part of the flock? So Luke tells us the word that many of you caught: be prepared, be alert, be prepared. And yet, as those people who are in charge of the colors for terrorist alerts, we can't be absolutely alert all the time. You know, we must find a way, I believe, of keeping ourselves prepared, of just that day, a daily preparedness, not high alert, but a daily, well, it's what I call having a prepared heart. Having a prepared heart. One of the ways that I have a prepared heart, I light a candle, you know that. I have prayers, I say psalms, and the Lord takes those prayers and those psalms, I offer them a sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving, and the Lord takes them and somehow uses them then to transform me. I offer it up, it comes back, and daily I'm transformed. You yourselves have the way that you prepare your hearts. One of the things that I do is, instead of saying the daily office out of the Book of Common Prayer these days, I've been praying out of another Episcopal book called Daily Prayers for Seasons. And it begins by asking a question. As we begin the day, we focus on our calling to live faithfully, for who knows what today holds. We focus our calling to live faithfully, for who knows what today holds. So I'm wondering, what do you do to live faithfully? Because we don't know what the day holds. Because there are doctor's appointments, because we're traveling to Europe, because we are dumb enough to stand in the shower and try to move the shower mat while still standing in it, and we fall and break 2 ribs. That would be me. So we don't know what the day holds. It was not a pretty sight, trust me. So I'm wondering, what do we all do? What do you do to prepare to live faithfully each day? You read day by day, okay? Reading day by day. Sue. Okay, starting with a prayer before she gets up, she has a little book. God, Jane and God have coffee in the morning with prayer and forward day by day. Stephanie.
I open the back door and look at the sun.
She opens the back door, looks for the sun that is rising, and says a thank you. These are all ways that we have our prepared heart. This week, try specifically asking yourself the question, how am I going to live faithfully today because I don't know what this day holds? So you've heard me talk about fear in my life, irrational fear. This is another way that I prepare my heart. When I was a brand new priest living in New York City, I had a walk down Broadway from West 84th Street, where the parish was, to Roosevelt Hospital at Broadway and 59th, I guess. And, of course, that fear was in me. Am I good enough? Do I do a good enough job? Am I... And there's a large church there, St. Paul's. It's a Paulist Brothers church. And I went in. They had a little bookshop in the narthex. Holy cards and pamphlets and whatnot, and so I'm thumbing through those, and I found a little card, clearly handmade, someone who enjoyed pressing wildflowers, pressed purple wildflowers. I was pressing flowers when I would go to Colorado in the summer, so that's why that stood out. They had taken purple flowers, pressed them made this holy card that said, "Perfect love casts out fear," 1 John. Perfect love casts out fear. I've packed boxes, I've unpacked boxes. I've packed boxes and left them packed. I've shredded things, I've lost many things in my lifetime. I have that holy card 25 years later, because that is a way that I keep my heart prepared. Because I want my heart to be prepared, because we know, because He told us. He told us to be prepared. He told us He would come again. And when Luke's readers heard that, they anticipated it was going to be a lot sooner. And, we're kind of about that. Yeah, He's coming, but then there is today, and I want to be prepared. Those of us who come to church every Maundy, Thursday are not surprised when we hear about the Master who will come and serve the slaves, because we reenact the night before Jesus died when He served His friends and He washed their feet. But we must really wrap our heads around what an extraordinary thing it was to say to His disciples, the Master will come and will serve the slaves. Extraordinary. I want to find myself among those slaves. I want to have my heart prepared. I want to be living not with fear and anxiety, but I want to be living with expectation and hope. I want to know that one day I'll sit down and the Master will serve me.